Now it's red. Can you text it, or do you want it?
You can.
So have you met your new boss yet?
I don't have one right now. Does that make you the boss?
Right now.
Right now.
Right now he is. Did Tyler reply?
Yeah, on his way. Let's see, he's upstairs, isn't he?
Yeah.
Go up there. No, Tim. The CFO's not here yet.
Okay.
That's why we're
That's why
waiting.
we're waiting. We would just have to go back through everything.
Okay.
So, like I said,
He's our numbers guy.
yeah, and he's the one putting the ordinance together so we can add to it. Well, we can. So, little flooding around town?
Imagine. Oh, that's a good question.
Oh man, yeah, that was a busy morning. There was a lot of complaints. But,
Yeah.
well, there's just a lot of things to go see. But one positive, Court and Oak was never underwater.
That's great.
That's never happened before. So we're either the detention pond or the redoing of Court Street with more inlets.
Or some combination.
Some combination of it. Because that's what Jake has always said. He said, since he's been here for 20 years, you don't fix it all, but after 20 years of constantly chipping away and just adding pipes wherever you can and holes under the ground.
I was about to say, there's places in downtown that I remember used to have, and where
And we just-
Yeah, and it's
so
not
there's-
with as
And
much
it's just,
rain as
he
we
said,
have.
it's after a while, it takes a bigger and bigger storm. It's not always, you're not gonna make it
One
flood
project's
through.
going to fix it.
But all of a sudden, the number of storms that do it, that
Mhm.
flood you, become less and less. It takes a bigger storm each time.
Well, this one's been pretty significant.
Yeah, and I went through Court and Oak, and usually that's the
That's-
first place shut down.
yeah.
It was never underwater, never got shut down. Now, some of the state areas like Harkrider and Oak and, over there, it's just a river, but it's not a lot we can.
Yeah, I saw a few Facebook posts about some
At
places.
Robbins and Harkrider, where the water goes from, not Robbins, Bruce and
Bruce and-
Harkrider, where it goes under Brand, that box that goes under the railroad there. I mean, it has the date on it. 1918 is when that was put in there, and there's a big water main running down through the middle of it, like it.
Yeah.
So there's not enough space. Yeah.
So it's like there's only so many things. we
Did the
can do.
water get over the road there?
Well,
It used to on a
If,
regular
yeah, I mean,
basis.
they had fire department had Bruce. Somebody stopped. You couldn't turn on to Bruce from Harkrider at that point, and you had to tread water to get through Harkrider. So.
That's the intersection I learned as a many years ago. Don't ever go
To
through
avoid.
even this much water in a Volkswagen.
Because
You ended up on the other side of the street. I was
Yeah.
lucky, but
That
it
'cause-
shook me.
And Harkrider can get a lot deeper than people think. It can get, especially down there by Conway Corp's facilities. It can get deep, and so we got to stay on top of keeping people out of it.
So is the state going to do anything to fix that when they start working on Park Rider? Or?
That's I don't know. The thing is, the fix. They have a hard time making it.
You would have to raise it.
It would.
Sort
a
of.
lot of times we have the freedom just to be
So
like,
it's
hey,
like
we
it's
can't
okay,
fix it, but
came
we'll
in
make it better.
in the
They are
conversation,
like, well, we
your
can't fix it,
son.
so let's go somewhere else.
So we're not going to do anything.
Finley worked on Harkrider,
actually
worked
always
on the
enjoyed
state.
Pat's
and,
updates.
Yeah.
I feel like I come away with a
Trying to
little
get
bit,
Harkrider
understanding a little bit more.
His whole time,
He's on his way.
Take that as a compliment. Pass that along.
It's
Because
good information, but it's
you
still
saw much
simplified down in
Yeah.
a way that
I'll try to do
it
the
can be
same.
understood. So
Yeah.
It's just because the project is massive to fix it. It's- And hopefully that,
Some of that can be addressed with this.
Sometimes I don't enjoy
Yeah, somebody said
the
Tucker Creek
material
was
in the update.
overflowing.
Unfortunately, some of that's
Yeah,
been hard.
there's
after
nothing
I
there.
dropped the kids off at school, it was.
Even in those times, I still feel like
Especially
I
when I'm not
understand
going
kind
to
of where
Tucker,
we're
that's-
at and
Yeah.
the scope of
the
things.
spring, or whatever that is that goes behind the McGee Center. That was like getting right up there, and then Tucker was too, just right up to the top of the box. And I'm so glad I got across.
And we always know on these that we have significant cleanup as soon as the water resides
Yeah, 'cause that-
along all the
All
trails.
the, yeah, oh, yeah, and
all the
underneath
debris that's
Prince
dropped.
Street. And
Oh yeah, Prince Street's. It's a nice muddy mess usually.
It's always the Stone Dam Creek Trail usually.
Because I mean, it's flood, I mean, it's just the flood.
It was built just for that, because nothing else can come in.
Yeah, it's one of
You know?
those, like, you just have to understand, don't go that way. Don't go there after it rains.
Y'all do a very good job keeping it picked up.
Yeah,
The guys, they do. It's easier in the wintertime. It's difficult sometimes in the summer when there's so many different things that is needing manpower. We always try to divert some quickly
yep.
to recover the trails.
Our trails for a town our size they were nice.
Mhm.
They
And
are.
our parks are great.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Marshall Tyler Winningham.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. Apologize for my tardiness. We usually have a 15-minute reminder go off before the meeting, but I switched phones and it did not do that for me today.
It helps when you get a reminder.
I was gonna
Yes.
say, if the calendar doesn't tell me, it's not real.
Exactly.
So,
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I'd like to note that all of our administrative committee members are present. And we also have Marshall Moon to give us a presentation today. Our first order of business is the minutes of the January 11th meeting approval. I mailed those out this morning.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for taking the minutes of the last meeting, Cody. We appreciate it. Let's go ahead and, Marshall, would you like to make your presentation?
Sure. Is it best if I stand up here?
Wherever you're comfortable.
Does it matter? Well,
You
I'll
can
pass
sit or
it.
you can, however you want to do it.
While I pass these out, I'll reintroduce myself because if you're like me, you might have forgotten my name already. But my name is Marshall Moon. I'm from and have lived in Conway my entire life. And although
Your jacket collar's kind of got a little funny fold going there. That's right. You gotta look sharp on camera.
And although I work in Little Rock, still live here in Conway. So went to Conway High School, stayed here for college, graduated from UCA with a finance degree in 2015, and started working at Meridian right after college. So let's go over this report here, and on the first page, well, before that, while Pat and I were putting this together, we're just kind of chatting about it, and he was a little bit jealous that I was coming to this meeting because he spent all of last year coming with bad news and how bad stocks and bonds were doing, and here I am coming with good news. So last year was the worst year for bonds in the history of the bond market, down 13%, and that's the aggregate bond index, and the seventh worst calendar year for stocks ever, worst since 2008. And so if you'll flip to the second page, I'm sorry I don't have page numbers on here. This is just a different way of showing the same thing. So there in the bottom left quadrant are times when both stocks and bonds had negative returns in the same year. You can see that that's the second time in history. So it wasn't a really fun year for us, but hopefully this year will be a lot better. And so the question is why, and I think there's three main reasons. The first is obviously inflation has reached the highest levels since the 1980s. mostly as a result of the mismatch between supply and demand caused by the pandemic. You had stimulus aiding consumer spending and demand at the same time. Stay-at-home orders were affecting supply, and that's just taken a long time to work through and longer than some really smart people expected. On top of that, you had Russia and Ukraine war affecting commodity prices, which we've seen some relief from, thankfully. If you go to the next page, I just broke down inflation a little bit further, and you can see that the rate of inflation peaked in around June of last year. You can see that since then, we've seen some relief in commodity prices, mostly oil and natural gas, and hopefully that trend continues. You've also seen used vehicle prices start to come down. On the flip side of that, you've had food and shelter remain pretty strong. So the direction of inflation will have a large impact on financial markets going forward, as it always does. The second reason for such a bad year in 2022 was that the federal interest rate has hiked interest rates so many times, from essentially zero to what they think is going to be 5% this year. And so what they're trying to do is purposefully slow down the economy to try to get inflation under control. At the same time, trying not to hurt the labor market. So that's the kind of the fine line they're trying to thread there.
That's a pretty good jobs report just recently, so.
And by the way, if y'all have any questions during this, feel free to stop me and ask. On the next page, the third reason, in our opinion, is that stocks going into 2022 were just expensive. You can see they were well above one standard deviation of valuation there going into 2022, and have since retraced back to about an average level. So where do we go from here is what we're thinking about. And we think there's really about three possible scenarios. If you pay attention to financial markets at all, you've probably heard this term soft landing 100 times over the last few months. And that's just what the Federal Reserve is trying to pull off. They're trying to cool inflation by hiking rates and slowing the economy down without negatively affecting the labor market. And in that scenario, stocks are probably pretty fairly valued, and they should produce some positive returns from here. Another option is that the Federal Reserve over tightens and hikes interest rates too much. In this scenario, employment and economic activity will weaken, and stocks could go lower. And then third, it's possible that stocks already priced in a recession in 2022, and under that scenario, they'll start to anticipate a recovery and could head higher from here. So
Now is the time to buy.
it could be. For a plan like City of Conway, it's always a good time to buy.
Yeah.
So there's really some good news and some bad news when you kind of look at all the data, and I'll go over both, but some of the bad news is that the yield curve has inverted. And so what that means is investors are kind of sensing some trouble in the near term and are requiring a little bit higher compensation for short-term bonds. The yield curve has preceded all past recessions. Some more bad news is that some of the leading economic indicators are anticipating recession as well. That includes the yield curve, includes things like durable goods orders, housing starts, building permits, and a slew of other things. On the flip side, there is also some good news. So credit spreads are the difference in interest rates between high yield bonds or junk bonds and really highly rated bonds like treasuries or investment grade corporates. And typically before a recession, that spread will widen out. People will be less willing to own junk bonds or high yield bonds. And so you'll see that spread widen. And we're not seeing that at this point. They're still pretty tight, which leads us to believe, if you just go by this, that and we will avoid a recession altogether. More good news is that consumer sentiment is really weak. I think that's helped fourth quarter and year-to-date returns. Consumers are notorious for selling at the wrong time at the lows and buying at the wrong time at the highs. And you can see how weak consumer sentiment is there. Other good news is that there's a host of economic indicators that suggest the economy is still really strong. Like we were talking about just a minute ago, jobs numbers have continued to stay strong. Payrolls are staying strong. Production is staying strong. So those things would lead you to believe that there won't be a recession anytime soon. So with all that out of the way, we'll just go through kind of this portfolio's returns over the last few periods. And you can see in the fourth quarter there, your total portfolio was up 6.4%, which it obviously boosted the returns of the portfolio, and it was only down about 15% for the year. I think it was probably down close to 22% at the lows. So you've seen a nice recovery there, and your portfolio has continued to do well so far this year, and we hope that continues. Below that, you can see that broken out by bonds and stocks. Like I said, bonds had their worst year in history, and the bond portion of your portfolio was down about 8% last year. But luckily, that remains a pretty small portion of the overall portfolio. I think this portfolio allows for up to 40% bonds, and we kept it at the low range of 20 for nearly all of last year. And then stocks in the fourth quarter returned nearly 9%, led by international stocks. And so if you'll focus on the 10-year number, you can see the plan's returns are still above 6% despite a really, really bad year. And one thing to point out is nearly all of that has come from stocks. You can see the 10-year return on bonds is just about 1%, whereas your stock portfolio is up nearly 9% over 10 years, and that's an annualized number. So we've kept your bond allocation, like I said, as low as we can. And towards the end of last year, we started to add to bonds a little bit as yields started to go up. So hopefully they'll contribute a little bit more going forward. On this next page is the allocation of the portfolio as it sits at the end of the fourth quarter. On the right there is that policy range that I was talking about. You can have 20 to 40% bonds. It's historically been on the low end, although we've increased it over the last 6 months or so up to 27%. And at the bottom there, we really didn't do a whole lot of transactions last year. You can see we bought the Bristol Myers Squibb company. It's a healthcare company for a few reasons in your top holdings there at the bottom right. And just on this last page, this is an exercise I like to do with clients a lot because we come in here quarterly and it's easy to get caught up in that quarterly minutia and kind of lose the big picture. So this is the entire plan dating back to 1999. You can see the green is the amount that the city has contributed to the plan, and the blue is the total portfolio. So everything in blue above that green line is investment gains that the plan has gotten. So it's sitting at nearly, and that's through the 6th, which was 2 days ago. The plan sits at nearly $15 with about $6 million being contributed since 1999. So the plan remains in good health, and despite a pretty bad year in 2022, still got a lot of investment gains there. So, can I answer any questions for you?
What's a better scenario, to have the recession and bounce back, or to avoid it?
It's hard to say, and the answer is going to be different for everybody. This plan has essentially an indefinite lifespan. So It's positioned well to weather any kind of recession we may or may not have. Ms. Mel was talking about trying to get $1 million added to the plan.
Right.
If we did have a recession, that would allow us to invest $1 million at lower prices, which would
Right.
be good.
Yeah.
But I think, if you look, the stock market's going to end up where it ends up despite what happens between now and then. So all things being equal, a plan like this, who doesn't have a whole lot of contributions, hasn't since probably 2011 or so, we hope we avoid a recession. Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, overall for the, the betterment of everything and not just our little fund that we look at, yeah, I think avoiding a recession is the best, but when there are recessions, it does seem to bounce back pretty strong
Yeah.
after.
I'll be sure to bring this on Tuesday
Okay, yeah.
also, in case any council members want to have a question or.
I have some copies I'd be happy to.
Sure, if you want to leave them,
Sure.
I'll share them. That's probably not a bad idea. We're going to have a committee meeting, so that's before the council meeting.
What's your, I can't help but notice you and Pat had the same last name.
That's right.
What's your relation?
He's my dad.
Okay.
Mhm.
That's why I was thinking about it, no, for
Yeah.
sure. He was sick the last time, wasn't he?
He was, yeah, he's doing better.
Okay, good.
It was something quick, but obviously he didn't want to show up or the weather.
Gotcha.
It doesn't need to share that with us, right? Whatever it was, yeah.
Well, thank you for coming.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
thank you
appreciate
for
it very much.
braving the rain. And Pat always stays in Conway after he comes.
I'm ready to sing.
So yeah, if you want to leave those. And you don't have to stay and listen to the rest of it.
Okay,
If you don't
well,
want to.
That's the case. I'll excuse myself. I appreciate Michelle letting me come.
Unless you have this, like,
We want to get some extra copies.
No,
so we
that's
can-
it's good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet y'all too. Thank y'all so much.
How many of you were you gonna use?
Well, I don't know that everybody will want one. If I can put a couple on the other side and a couple on our side. So I think we'll be okay. What do you think with,
Yeah,
you
because y'all could,
we can
you
share.
could look off of the same
Two
one.
for two. I think we'll be okay. I mean, if you want to donate your copies, you can, but I can always get it back if we need to.
Yeah, I'll have, Cody's got one, so I'll keep his
Okay.
stuff.
There you go.
Yeah, this one's gonna be
I like
pretty
that.
handy.
I like that
last
graph, that last graph.
graph.
Yeah.
I can't ever remember exactly when the last time was we contributed, but right there.
That's pretty impressive, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna do, I didn't assume you were, but not any kind of PowerPoint or anything like that, are you?
I'm not gonna do it in PowerPoint, but I've got something typed up in Word
Okay.
that I can just click through as a PDF, just to kind of give
If you want to put that picture,
some facts and some background information.
I may put it on the table for everybody at that graph, just so that people can refer to it.
So am I correct? Because we are gonna discuss this during, or y'all are gonna discuss this
At the
during the
committee,
committee meeting.
Right?
But the ordinance will be on the agenda also.
Yeah. And I know we've talked about it before at the council, when we had the presentation and all that. So I don't think any of this is going to be a surprise. Plus, we feel pretty confident about how we ended the year in terms of net income. So
Right.
I think we'll be able to make that. I mean, I don't anticipate anybody wanting to table it or think about it more, but we'll see.
Yeah.
But I think seeing that new graph on here, plus, what was it? It was at the 16 million when they did the
Mhm.
new study, and now it's 13 something. So
Right.
that's another piece to the puzzle.
And I thought the numbers you gave at your meeting last month, comparing the lofty contributions on an.
Yeah, and I'm gonna have that in
annual
there
basis
too.
was good.
just so they can, we talk about it all the time, but I'm gonna show on there what we contribute to non-uniform, what we contribute to police and fire for the current and the old plan, and then what we contribute to APRS. And just to show that the percentage for those others are
It's different. It's
significantly higher
significant, yeah.
than what we do for non-uniform.
That was good information.
Okay, anything else on our,
Yes.
oh, we do have
We
one,
do.
don't we?
We have several requests for pension refunds. Charles Honeycutt in the amount of $1,581. Daniel Honeycutt in the amount of $5,722. Adrian Martin in the amount of $1,651. James Pitts in the amount of $3,697. Haley Volker in the amount of $9,217. And Philip Scarborough, $3,509 pre-tax and $13,235 post-tax, for a total of $38,615.
Cash okay?
Mhm.
I just feel like I need to ask you that every time, just to get it on the record. I'll make a motion to approve those.
Second. Third. Fourth.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there any new business?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.